what's up guys? I'm super pumped to be doing a quick first impressions of the Canon EOS M3. This is one of the mirrorless cameras that Canon has. You're not going to believe the price that I got it for. So I'm curious to take a look at it and let you know how well this camera holds up. Coming up next. Hey, what's up guys? It's Diana here with Entre Woman TV, helping you transition your passion into the business that you love. And on this channel, we typically do small business as well as personal development tips, helping you structure, start, and grow your own home-based business. But we also do tech tips like we're doing today, or more like a first impression. It's not really a tech tip video, but just to kind of help you with your video marketing as well. So this video, I'm actually talking about the Canon EOS M3. I'm really excited about this camera. I like it. There are some things that you may not like, as well as some things that I just, I could do without or do, it's just like a kind of wish factor kind of deal. But let's go through some of the things about this camera and let's check it out. Okay, so some of the things that attracted me to this particular camera is because I didn't know that Canon had a mirrorless brand for cameras. I just heard about the EOS M6 that they just released earlier this year, and I saw some coverage on it and it looked pretty cool. But most of the time, just like they have the A6000 or A6300, A6500 for Sony, and every other brand and every other camera kind of goes up in model numbers. So I'm thinking M6, well, what other cameras are there out there? Well, I saw that the EOS M, just the first one, didn't do so well. Didn't seem like Canon really cared when they put that one out. They were just like, okay, you want mirrorless? Here's one. But this was another one that came out, was the M3. They also have like the M10. I'm not real familiar about that one. The features, they have the M5, which instead of the screen flipping up like this, is like this, and it flips down. And I thought that was kind of stupid because you have the jack here, not the jack here, but the plug here for the tripod, so you wouldn't be able to check and make sure that you're in the frame, just like I can look over here at the camera now, not at the camera but the screen, and check. So I thought that that was kind of weird. So even though the features are a little bit better than this one, it wasn't worth it to me. And so what attracted me to this camera is what I was looking for. So I wanted something that was small, like a point and shoot, which this one definitely is, as far as the frame factor, the size, super solid build quality. I mean, I could hold this thing in my medium-sized hand, I guess. I don't have man hands, but just my hands, it fits perfectly. I like it. I like it a lot. And so I was looking for something that had the same features as the Canon T5i, really. It doesn't do 4K. We'll get into some of the things, dislikes, and things that may be important to you that this camera doesn't have a little bit later. But basically, same quality or a little bit better than what the Canon T5i has, which is what you're watching this on right now. And the ability to have an external microphone. I also have a fix for that in a minute. And then just, again, the screen was a big deal. Technically, point and shoots, they either have a screen where it just stays like this and it doesn't move, or it kind of flips up. And then you have some that are much larger that'll flip out to the side, like maybe the Panasonic G7, which is a mirrorless camera, and it does 4K or whatever, but great option. But this one, it just suits me. It really, really does. Some other things that drew me to this particular camera, again, was the price. $299 US is what I got this camera for a couple days ago, and there were still some out there that other camera shops in other states were selling, and it's an amazing deal. Even if you got it for $300 or maybe a little bit right under $400 is amazing. And then I also got the lens. Now the lens had a little nick on the front, but again, this is a metal, it's almost like metal frame. I don't know exactly what kind of metal it is. I didn't really look into it, but super solid build quality, and it's just a small scuff. The glass wasn't dented or impacted or anything whatsoever. It wasn't damaged. The actual function of the camera, so that it rotates. I mean, this is even smoother than the T5i. I could just keep doing this all day. But this one is actually much smoother than the T5i. It still has the focus range. So again, all the same qualities that I want to have in my T5i, but I can take it on the go, and you know, it's not a problem. So one of the other great features about this camera is that it has the same processor, which is like the brains, the internal processor for this Canon. It has the same one as the Canon 80D. Well beloved camera within the YouTube community. Definitely a higher price DSLR camera, and this is, you know, it's incredible. The thing is called the Digit 6 processor, and so it has some of the same functionalities. One of the downsides of this, when I say that, you know, I say 80, same processor as the 80D, most people automatically think, if you're familiar with the camera world, does it have the dual pixel autofocus, so that if you move around, that it follows you really well, and that it doesn't, you know, have to kind of hunt for, you know, clarity or anything like that, like if you can see that, but it's still focused on my face. So this one is still even not that bad. But this one has a hybrid autofocus sensor in it, where it mixes different components of it, but still works pretty well. We'll take a look at it in just a second. So the purpose of me getting this camera, again, just like I said, first impression is not really an unboxing. The purpose of me getting this camera, again, is to have the same T5i functions, just pretty much in a on-the-go kind of setting. And then again, most importantly, have the screen. It doesn't just only flip up like this. It does, you know, flip down. That's as far as it goes. If you do anything else, you'll probably break it. And then it flips back down so that you can see if you were holding it up. Tested that out this weekend, and it worked pretty well. I didn't have any issues with it. The only thing is that you just don't have a cover for it. It stays like that. Like, there's no way to flip it around so that this doesn't get affected. I don't like that. That's one of the things that I don't like, is that, you know, this is, I guess I would have to get a screen cover very similar to what we would probably get for our cell phones. And then also, because this lens size, this is a 52 millimeter, this one on the T5i is a 58 millimeter, I would need to get a ND filter or some kind of filter cover, something to cover this, because if I put my finger on it, then I've already put a fingerprint on my lens, whereas if I touch my T5i, I have something on there where I keep that covered to keep it safe and protected, so that when you're out and about, protects the dust. So just a couple accessories to buy, not really downfalls of the camera, but that's just a couple things. So let's get into some of the things that are typically, you know, dislikes or downfalls of this particular camera. So two of the biggest downfalls, or more like dislikes, that most people have with this camera is usually really just kind of either a cosmetic kind of issue, where it's something dealing with the lens, and they say it's not as many lens options for the mirrorless brand for Canon compared to, you know, the DSLRs, which makes sense. They've had DSLRs for forever, and this, you know, the mirrorless brand is something that's come out recently over the past, you know, let's say decade, maybe even. But this one is something, this camera compared to the T5i, which is the brand when they released it, is 4 years old. This camera is right at 21 months old, right at the recording of this video. So it's a much newer camera. So again, of course, compared to something that's, you know, older DSLR camera, any one of them, compared to this one, of course, there's not going to be as many, but they have an adapter that you can use, so that if you have a lot of Canon lenses, then you can use that with this one, and just make it a little bit heavier. One of the other things that most people don't like is, like I've said earlier, is that it doesn't have 4K video, which is very huge to a lot of people. But honestly, for our startup community, unless you have the processing system built into your computer and the storage, which is two big things, unless you have a powerful enough laptop or computer desktop system and the storage to be able to deal with the 4K files, I don't really think that it is such a big factor. Most phones, I know it's another thing that people bring up, is about people's cell phones being able to do 4K video and this and that or whatever. You know, fine, maybe that's not the camera for you, because it doesn't. Again, it does 1080p at the highest at 30 frames per second, and 720p at 60 frames per second. And a lot of people now also want 1080p at 60 frames per second at least. So again, this camera is, as far as that's concerned, it's the same with the T5i, and I think Canon is trying to be more strategic about which cameras they put 4K in, which ones do they put the dual pixel autofocus in. just to command that higher price level for their brand, and more like competing internally, if you will. So final thoughts about this camera. I freaking love it. There's no bones about it. For everything that I want to do with this camera, I can do with this camera. And the things that are important to me, like, again, simple things like being able to look at myself, or being able to really, angle the camera down or up and get the, specific angle that I want, I can get it. The size, I mean, just the fact that I can do this, it's power. I can do this. It feels great. It's a solid build quality. Like I said, the only things that I want are more like accessory based things, like being able to cover the screen and protect it. And then I may consider getting like a wider, like 11 to 22 or lens or something like that, just to get a wider shot with this one. Other than that, I freaking love this camera. It does everything that I want to do. And when you're picking out a mirrorless or even a DSLR camera, a lot of times people try to compare, what can this, 5D Mark III top of the line kind of camera, or top of the line point and shoot that is in the $1,000 range, how can a $299 camera compare? And it's just, sometimes it's just apples and oranges. It's not going to on any level, or it's not, it just doesn't make sense in my mind. Or you have a photographer looking at a camera that's more based for video. So again, when you're picking out a camera, you're picking out one of these mirrorless ones or whatever, even a DSLR, you have to pick a camera that does what you want it to do. What are the things that are important that you want your camera to be able to do? And the fact that I can just keep holding this and have this camera in my hand all day, and my arm doesn't hurt, and it's not really tired, and my hand isn't cramping up, is a huge plus. And I could put this camera in my old camera bag and all of my accessories and all of my other gear, and it just fits. So I completely shrunk down by a bag just by getting a smaller camera. Oops, almost forgot. So before we go, I promised that I was going to show you what to do if you want to hook an external microphone, like if you have the Canon VideoMic Me, or you have one of the other ones. Can't think of what the other one's called, but it's very similar to it, very same build quality. That's swooped around there. And if you want to hook an external mic into here, and how I actually attach this so that I can be mobile, like I am like now holding this, and actually hook in without any issues. And we're going to check into the quality of it in just a second. Okay, so this is the audio that you would get from the lens. It's at the 18 millimeter, which is as wide as this lens will get. Of course, I could hold it back, but again, I'm holding it in my hand. And so this is the onboard microphone and the audio that you can expect from this particular camera. Now, far as the actual fix that I did, I have a $1 fix. Now, I'll link up some other ones. You have TubeNoob, who did some fantastic modifications if you want to attach it, so I'll include that one as well. And then there's also another gentleman who did a bracket that may be like $13 or $16, and I'll include that one as well. But for my $1 fix, if you're going to go the cheap route, you can call it ghetto a little bit, maybe, I don't know. I call it being efficient. So this is the cord, the TRRS to TRRS, which is basically like from the smartphone kind of microphones to what the cameras would do. So this little cord that I got from the Purple Panda microphone, which I'll link in the YouTube card as well. What I do is I'll take that, plug it into the VideoMic Me, and black zip ties, so it blends in with my little mini tripod here. Dollar store, Dollar Tree. This is just a bundle I got actually from my dad, but $1, that's my solution. So 2 zip ties, one around the base of the actual thingamababa, whatever you call it, the tripod, handheld tripod, and then another one around the microphone. And then it's enough wiggle room, it's enough play in the cable so that it's not very taut, but it's not going to move either, and it's super solid. So let's switch over to the audio and you can see what that sounds like. Okay, so I just noticed that I had the audio before on the manual settings, and not manual, but the auto settings. I never like to do that because it just completely blows out, so I'll probably reduce the volume some on that last clip. But this is what it sounds like with it about, I don't know, it's a little ways up. on the manual audio settings so that it does pick up some audio, and then you have the VideoMic Me that's hooked in, and I'll show you what that looks like as well. But that way I can move this around if I want to take this off. Even I saw people drilling into their cameras. I saw people doing all kind of crazy stuff. I think some of the best solutions that you can do is actually doing where you have the TubeNoob, where he does some. He uses like a Edutige, I think is how it's pronounced, microphone, and I think that's super neat. It's a 3.5 millimeter jack microphone, or cable, not cable, 3.5 millimeter port right into a microphone. I think it's a phenomenal little microphone. It's about as big as, you know, your pinky finger or a small amount. So it's super neat. But so this is my first impressions on this particular camera, and you're watching it right now with similar settings. I actually have a dial on the camera for custom settings. So when I come into my office and I want to do a video, I never have to go back through and manually adjust everything from when I was out. I can just come in and click it to custom. All of my settings come back in, and I can just go. So it's freaking phenomenal. I love it. There are not any things that are not done on this camera that are important to me, if that makes sense. Like, it's not missing anything, any of the things that are important to me. And then it has Wi-Fi. I forgot to mention that earlier. This camera has Wi-Fi, and I play with the app, and I can take remote pictures on my phone and sit in my bedroom and take a picture from of the camera in the living room, and it's incredible. I've also, the picture I uploaded of the two cameras, the T5i and this camera, that was uploaded directly from the app, directly with the card still in the camera. So this camera can do everything that's important to me until I want to upgrade to 4K, until I see like a real necessity for it in my business for the quality. Then that's when I'll consider that. Otherwise, not going to do it. So I hope you enjoyed this first impressions video. Let me know, do you think that this Canon mirrorless brandless M3 would be something that you would want to consider picking up for $299? Or do you think you would maybe get the M6? So let me know in the description or the comments down below, and I'll put links to everything that I mentioned in this video. So take care, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this first impressions. If you like it, maybe we'll do more of these. So I'll see you guys later. Take care, everyone. Have a great week. Bye.